The long run of WCW provided a strong presence in the wrestling industry with many interesting and major names trying to call that place home. WCW employed many of the past, present and future stars of pro wrestling when having a strong financial backer in owner Ted Turner. Unfortunately, the company closing changed the industry for the worse and meant that fewer jobs for American wrestlers were available for them who wanted to make a great living, until 2019 with the launch of AEW. WWE was the only major place, unless someone wanted to become a top TNA star for some reason. And, I mean, if you became that, you'd make all the higher-end contracts, so these were usually the guys WWE wanted to sign to be their lower mid-carders. Just, hello EC3, how are you doing? Welcome to Honor Wrestling Club, and here are 10 former WCW wrestlers who now work surprising jobs. Welcome to the club. In number 10 we have David Flair, who unfortunately never became a major star in wrestling. WCW made a huge mistake by having David Flair get pushed instantly upon getting signed, despite him having no prior wrestling experience. David struggled in his various major pushes and never felt like a credible act, except for his odd couple act with Crowbar and Daphne. After WCW closed its doors, David did have a WWE developmental deal and even joined TNA for a fresh start. However, nothing really worked and David realised leaving wrestling in the past was the right move. David lives a quiet life today, working at his mother-in-law's steel and copper wire business. In number 9 we have Shawn Stasiak, who found a new job in the world of medicine. Shawn Stasiak received pushes in both WCW and WWE for his pedigree as the son of former WWE champion Stan the Man Stasiak. The good luck and athleticism of Shawn helped him get a few pushes at various stages of his career. WCW used Stasiak best during his time in the Natural Born Thrillers and eventually entering a relationship with Stacy Keibler. Another weak WWE run after WCW ended essentially ruined his wrestling career. He now works as a chiropractor after putting wrestling behind him. In number 8 we have Ed Ferrara, who is a former writer and now works at a school. Vince Russo gets all the talk about when he left WCW to take over WCW Creative, however his partner Ed Ferrara also joined him. Ferrara is most known for his embarrassing WCW portrayal of the Oklahoma parody, which was meant to mock and humiliate Jim Ross, who both men had clashed with during their time in WWE, because Jim Ross understood pro wrestling and Ferrara and Russo did not understand pro wrestling. Oklahoma remains among the most embarrassing ideas ever, and Ferrara barely worked in wrestling after WCW. I mean, he wasn't going to have a shot in WWE again, was he? The current life of Ferrara is left hectic as he teaches a creative writing for entertainment class at Full Sail College. In number 7 we have Lance Storm, as the former Canadian heavyweight champion works for the company he criticised. TNA wrestlers used to have major heat with Lance Storm over his wrestling blogs, burying the company every single week for years. Storm called out everything TNA did wrong to make it funnier that he now works for the promotion over a decade later. Retirement from the ring saw Storm arguably the best wrestling trainer in the world. However, a more stable gig sees him now as a producer for Total Nonstop Action. Storm using his wrestling intellect to help others is not that surprising, however the TNA element is the shocking aspect of this, as Storm was heavily critical of the product in the past. In number 6 we have Johnny B. Bad, who's now used his desire to motivate others and has led him to a new career. Mark Mero peaked in WCW as the unique Johnny B. Bad character inspired by Little Richard. Even though the gimmick was a little confusing, Bad playing a generally likeable babyface connected with the audience due to the colourful side of his personality. WWE offered Mero one of the first ever guaranteed contracts in company history, however he majorly flopped, and then such a push ruined his name value. I mean, he introduced Sable, which I suppose is his entire legacy now. Mero began to deliver motivational speeches following wrestling, and he just then found his next career path, which is to inspire other people with his story. In number 5 we have Rick Steiner, after he left wrestling for a more stable life. The Steiner brothers were arguably the greatest tag team in WCW as homegrown stars who got majorly over with the audience. Scott got a world title push in the final months, and that ensured he'd be viewed as a single star once WCW ended. Rick continued wrestling with more Japan tours, independent bookings and a few TNA dates, however his new career path in real estate defined the rest of his life. Rick has been out of the spotlight for years until his son Bron Breakker emerged as a WWE standout prospect. In number 4 we have Crowbar, as he was always prepared for jobs outside of wrestling. Devon Storm, aka Crowbar, studied in college while wrestling professionally for major promotions. Stories emerged of Taz getting mad at Storm bringing books into the ECW locker room and threw the books out to send a message. WCW was the place where Crowbar would have his greatest success, teaming with David Flair, and he played an unhinged character. Crowbar continued wrestling once WCW ended, but his main job is a physical therapist after he studied for years in the field. In number 3 we have Disco Inferno, who now manages strip clubs in between Shock Jock podcasts. Most fans today know former WCW talent Disco Inferno for making controversial comments on his podcast. However, that is not Inferno's main job, as he found his next career path many years ago when WCW went out of business. Inferno tried to get creative jobs for both WWE and TNA due to his connections with Vince Russo, but it didn't work out for the former 2-time WCW World Television Champion. How crap a booker do you need to be for TNA to tell you to do one? Disco currently works as a manager and a host of a strip club in Las Vegas. Cool. Good for you. In number 2, we have Chavo Guerrero, who uses his wrestling knowledge to land big jobs. The popularity of wrestling led to more movies and television shows having stories from the industry, which led to Chavo Guerrero massively benefiting. Multiple seasons of Glow on Netflix and Young Rock on NBC saw Chavo in the role teaching actors how to competently wrestle for their in-ring scenes. The biggest job came for the hit movie The Iron Claw, where Chavo Guerrero had both an on-screen and behind-the-scenes job. Chavo had a role as the Sheik, but his bigger role was to help the actors pick up wrestling to make the scenes more credible. And number 1, we have Eric Bischoff, who had his career saved by Conrad Thompson. Eric Bischoff's legendary WCW run was incredibly successful before things jumped the shark with too many risks. Bischoff failed in TNA and had a quick firing from his creative WWE role, and that made it seem like wrestling was done with him, especially once he filed for bankruptcy. Ric Flair's son-in-law Conrad Thompson hired Bischoff to host a weekly wrestling podcast, but another job with more stability was offered. Bischoff received a job as a mortgage loan officer for a daily gig working for Conrad's loan company. And there you have it, there's our list. So what do you think? Which superstar's current job surprises you the most? Let us know in the comment section down below. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and click the subscribe button if you're new around here. That's all for now, so I'd like to thank you for watching, and we'll see you later. Welcome to the club.